Phoenix Rising by Michael Anastas. That night, I was put to sleep in Alsami's loving hold. Everything in my head said it wasn't right, but for some reason, I drifted off and fell asleep. Over in Mecca, the demon faith was having a fit. "I use my one wish so that fool can be with me!" she shouted as she watched the projection held before her. "And he casts me aside so he can fall in love with another Pokemon! Hasn't he learned anything?" The wraith showing her the images clasped his hands over the projection, ending it. "Perhaps it is you that has not learned." "What?" "You thought being human would give you Michael's love, but instead, it just pushed him further away. Perhaps it is time you showed Michael just how much you love him." Faith was now interested. "And how do you propose I do that?" "By removing this foul influence from the face of the earth." "I will do that." I awoke when the sun was coming up and found myself lying on top of Alsami's front paws, with her head resting on my chest, a big smile on her face. Trying not to disturb her, I freed myself from her hold and tiptoed to the bathroom. As soon as I had the door locked, Faith came through the window, dressed in a white nightgown, with a fine-crafted sword in her hand. She walked up to the bed and stared down at Alsami's face, namely her smile. "Michael dumped me for a Pokemon," she muttered. "One that isn't even as pretty as I was." She rose the sword in the air. "Cursed mutt, I bid you good tidings wherever you go. Goodbye." And the sword came down. In a quick thrust, I pushed the demon faith to the other side of the room, and in that second of time I had given myself, I zipped up my pants. "You!" Faith shouted, in a voice that made me wonder why Alsami was still asleep. "You would choose this infernal beast over me? Look at all I have done! Can't you see that I love you more than this creature?" I held my sword before myself, ready to defend at any moment. "You no longer know what love is. God punish me for turning you into the creature that you are." Faith laughed. "It would appear that you were belying your words. Did you not say you wouldn't draw your sword in my presence?" I reared back for the strike. "You're not Faith. You're something else." I charged, my sword slicing the air above me, and struck nothing but the ground at which she once stood. I didn't tell Alsami about Faith's attempt to murder her. She awoke all cheery, telling me the night had been wonderful, and when I told her I felt like shit, she didn't stop licking me until I laughed. Something Faith would have done if she had been there, had she still been a Ninetales. Once my only friend, I had tried to kill her that night, and when I went back to sleep, all seemed lost. Alsami wouldn't quit until I smiled, but when I did, it wasn't because she had cheered me up. It was because I knew the perfect way to get Faith back, the most ironic, troubling, unbearable, yet so perfect way to win her back. Oh, the wraiths would have something very big to think about before they were banished to hell. I was sure of that. "Well, I'm glad to see you're feeling better," she said happily. "And now a serious question. How do we hide the Pokeballs?" I gathered them up and walked over to her. "Are you willing to cooperate with me?" "Of course. I'm your Pokemon, aren't I?" With that, I placed my hand on her chin, and in a quick motion, forced open her mouth and shoved them in. "Don't swallow," was all I said as I took out her Pokeball. "Once you're inside, you can spit them out." Alsami nodded as I pressed the button and recalled her. That was all I needed to worry about. All I had to do now was forget that I was going to raise Phoenix, so as not to blurt it out to Merlin or anyone else. On the bridge, I found out about yet another plan of Merlin's to make things easier, and came face to face with another Arcanine. Apparently, we all forgot the technique Michael used when we were chasing the train. He tossed the Pokeball in Cassie's direction. "Cassie, since you have the most training with the wingsuit, we're entrusting our fate to you. The rest of us will be riding in the Pokeball with Arcanine. Understood?" Everyone muttered a sullen, "Oh, yeah, sure." Merlin smiled and shouldered his duffel bag. Merlin," said Brock, "can I ask what's in the bag?" "Our disguises," said Merlin. "Mecca is a very busy city. We can't just jump from shadow to shadow like we've done before. Come on, everyone gather round. It'll all go by faster than you think." "The train chase practically lasted forever," muttered Darius. Cassie was beginning to get impatient. "Fine! Everyone pick your own Pokeball if it'll make you feel better. I don't care. Can't we just get on with it? The plane is leaving in 2 hours whether we're there or not." Merlin clenched his fists. All right, we're all very stressed out right now, so it would probably be suicidal for us to be close together. He took his Pokeball back from Cassie and stepped up beside his Arcanine. Either way, we're all riding in your hands. He pressed the button, recalling Arcanine into the Pokeball, taking himself with it. The others repeated the process, trapping themselves inside with their most cherished Pokemon, until Cassie stood before me, arms crossed before her, waiting for me to do the same. All right, I said, as I took out Alsami's Pokeball. You'll see something strange here, but it's best that you don't ask questions. I gently tossed the Pokeball, and Alsami appeared between us. None of the Pokeballs came with her. Pokeballs? I whispered. I'm sitting on them, whispered Alsami. I had a feeling I'd be out again. I breathed a sigh of relief, gave her a pat on the head, and used that bond to take me with her into the Pokeball. The only thing Cassie had to wonder about was what I had told her about. Cassie never told us what happened on the flight, but it had to have been successful, because I didn't come out until we were outside Mecca. With the Pokeballs hidden in my ammo case, I got in line with the others, and watched as Merlin lowered his duffel bag to the ground and pulled out one of our clever disguises. Merlin, choked Andrew, tell me all of us don't have to wear that. Merlin tossed the dress into Andrew's hands. You guessed it, we're all going feminine for this one. What? Shouted Ash. But no way, no how, shouted Brock. This is not what I meant when I said I wanted to get into a woman's pants. Dragon crossed his arms and smiled. Actually, it couldn't have been a more perfect plan. That's right, said Merlin. Tell him, Dragon. All eyes turned to Dragon. In case you forgot, it's customary for women to wear a veil that covers their entire face. It's considered a sin not to. Oh, yeah, said Darius, slowly nodding. Is that where someone is considered to be a slut if they have their hair peeking out? I don't know if that's the appropriate term, but yes, it is. And that's why we're all wearing the full veil, said Merlin, tossing a dress in Cristobal's arms, who nearly cried at the sight of it. This hurts me more than it does you, but this is something we need to do. I mean, we've done stranger things, haven't we? No, said Cristobal. This is a new low for me. Freeman unfolded his dress. Normally, I would think this to be another joke about my priest robes. Isn't this a little extreme? Ash already had his dress on. I've never done anything worse than dressing up like a girl, and that's an absolute fact. He threw the veil up. Still, I like this so much better. It conceals my manliness and my shotgun at the same time. See? He likes it! Shouted Merlin as he threw a dress into my arms. Alsami couldn't contain her laughter at it. It's imperative that we avoid suspicion, isn't it? This is the answer. I see, I said as I unfolded the dress. So your plan was to have 12 tall, muscular women walking down the street in a straight line? There was a long pause. You make a good point, said Merlin as he turned to the group. Do we split up and meet at the Wraith's temple? We all know where it is, right? Everyone nodded. All right, I'll meet you guys there.